You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma podcast. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today. But before we do, I've got to thank our sponsors. First of all, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. They've been a huge part of this podcast for the last few years. So the Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is the Choctaw Nation. Now, the Choctaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. So a huge shout out to Governor Anatoby for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is presented by the Choctaw Nation. The Choctaw people have a rich history and a bright future. At the Choctaw Cultural Center, you can take part in a story 14,000 years in the making. Stroll through our immersive exhibits portraying Choctaw life from the moment our ancestors emerged from the Nani Weha in Mississippian homelands to the Trail of Tears, where we lost so many loved ones, and finally to the modern-day tribe making a positive impact on local communities throughout southeastern Oklahoma. Try your hand at our social dancing and stickball and learn more about our vibrant culture through demonstrations, workshops, and classes. The kids will have a blast in our Luxie Activity Center. The Choctaw Cultural Center is more than a museum. It's a living, breathing experience. Visit choctawculturalcenter.com to plan your visit. This episode is brought to you by Hope is Alive. Hope is Alive exists to radically change the lives of drug addicts, alcoholics, and those who love them. Join us on August 11th at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum for a celebration of hope featuring guest speaker Tim Tebow and musical artist Ben Fuller. Find out more and get your tickets at HIA10.com. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode down at the Choctaw Cultural Center in Durant today with my guest, cultural educator and student. Seems like you're always a student. I'm sure it probably feels like that. Looking back at your bio, you've been a student and you're doing multiple things all the time, which we'll get into. But my guest today is Begay. Thank you so much for taking time out of your extremely busy schedule to come and sit with us and share some fantastic stories.
Yeah, thank you. It's I'm really happy to be here, really excited, and yeah, there's always something to learn. Definitely,
for sure. So, we just kind of a little bit of a chat before we start recording, as I do with pretty much all of my guests, which is the fun part of my job. I just call this a job. It's really not a job. It's actually more of just fun to do and a hobby, but
best ones.
It definitely doesn't feel like a job. But you have a really unique kind of perspective of this building we're in today.
Yeah.
Right? Tell me about it.
Well, the Choctaw Cultural Center in Durant, Oklahoma, I believe we're coming up on our second year anniversary. But yeah, for a while I worked here as the education coordinator. So you take a tour, I helped develop that. Being one of the first in here, it was really fun to get to know the community, a lot of the people involved with learning the stories, making the exhibits, creating the displays, kind of seeing it being built and put together. It was really a cool experience. A little bit scary at some times, because as I mentioned, I was in here maybe a week alone by myself. We did kind of have some night of the museum moments of, we've got some pretty, old stuff in here, but, nothing bad, something, good, like I said, something always to learn. So yeah, it's a really exciting place. You need to definitely spend a couple hours here though.
Yeah, I think I need to come back and just wipe the day and spend the entire day down here because there's so much stuff to do. I just had lunch and it is fantastic over there. So very highly recommend anybody coming here to stop in for lunch. But a bit more about obviously you have a love for education. We'll get into that, but tell us a little bit about kind of you and your origin story and where you grew up and how you kind of get to where we are today.
Yeah. Well, to introduce myself again, my name is Tiara Begay. I am originally from Ada, Oklahoma, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Taos Pueblo.
Okay.
Born and raised Ada, Oklahoma. I was an Ada Cougar. And then, as I kind of grew up, I was an Oklahoma Sooner for a while. And then an Arizona State Sun Devil. And then now I'm a Baylor Bear. So like I said, always, something to learn. I'm currently in my doctoral program studying learning and organizational change, where I still am, as we just mentioned, working here opened my eyes to a lot. What museums and cultural centers, more specifically, sovereign-owned, tribally owned cultural centers, what they can do and how, the state and just kind of anybody can benefit and learn. So I'm still focusing on that. I've got some dissertation writing happening, lots of fun. On the flip side, when I'm not a student, I'm also a mom. Got 2 little boys. My husband's from the Navajo Nation, so there's tons of cultural diversity there. Not only, being a lifelong learner of, modern day academia, but also tribal languages, picking up some slang here and there, jokes, that kind of thing, learning some of our cultural histories, our stories, our upbringings. And that's very important to my husband and I, is when we reach those different milestones in our lives, that we want to take the time to step back, honor, represent them, because that is what made us and brought us here. In my fun time, I'm also a pow-wow dancer. Mm-hmm. It is a contemporary style of Native American dance. I've been immersed in that style ever since I could walk. Although, I can dance any style of dance, my heart for sure is where the women's fancy dance style is. It's one of the most contemporary, latest forms of dance style in the powwow world. And it's an upbeat, fast-paced. There's not really any right or wrong way to dance the style. Mm-hmm. But, it's definitely you got to go give her for that one.
Yeah. So many things to expand on. Growing up in Ada, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I've always, one of those wildest dream moments, I've traveled a lot. I've always been immersed in different cultures. Not just traveling for powwow, but my family used to always say, oh, hey, we're going to Minneapolis, Minnesota. What's there to do there? Where are the historical places? What happened here? What tribes around here? And so there's much more than just, traveling to a spot and sightseeing. There's also the different tastes, the different flavors, indigenously, the different, sounds, the different styles of decor. So there's so much within that. And so growing up, something I really wanted to do is be kind of like a travel tourist or a cultural tourist. So, not exactly what I had in mind, but it's still a lot of fun with what I get to do. Pretty similar. I'd say, I partially made it.
I mean, you travel a lot. So, yeah, I think we're very close to what, like I said, maybe not what you initially thought, but you're still traveling a lot.
Yeah, just maybe don't get paid for it as much. But
yeah, exactly. So you went from Ada, so you went from high school straight to OU.
Yes.
What was the thought going to OU? Just think, did you have any direction at that point? You just think, I'm just going to go and just get a general degree, or did you know that I want to be in education and kind of go that route?
Honestly, I really am a first generation student.
Okay.
My parents, always pushed me to go and get my education. Once you provide for yourself, you have that backbone. Mm-hmm. You can really do whatever you want to do. So I graduated in 2012 as an Ada Cougar, and kind of, like I said, listen to my parents. They said go to school, so that's kind of all I really knew was go to school. I actually won a very prestigious scholarship as a senior. I won the Gates Millennium Scholarship.
Yeah.
And so, it's a very, like I said, a prestigious award where it could really take care of me academically for up to 10 years. So, that's not something that comes around very often. And even though my parents always said, go to school, we never really thought about, that financial burden of what that takes. So I guess that's kind of why I'm still in school, is because I don't want to have any regrets for, a free, awesome education. So I really wanted to do the most with it.
Yeah.
So, at the University of Oklahoma, I was highly involved with the Native American student organizations. I even got to play my part as Miss Indian OU for a while. And then, starting to get more into the Indigenous community and the presence of Native American students in higher education, that's kind of where my interest started to fall.
Okay.
So, once I graduated, I was also working for the student affairs at University of Oklahoma for a while. And, I started looking into master's degree. And then, like I said, kind of with what I was doing there, education policy kind of fit the plan. Never really been out to Arizona other than, weekends, travel. Arizona is also, a highly prominent Native American community as well. So, I spent some time in Oklahoma. I know what I know here. Went to check out Oklahoma, do some, compare and contrast, or not Oklahoma, Arizona, compare and contrast. I studied teacher education, teacher certification. And kind of funny story with that, 2 years later, when I'm graduating with my master's, I actually had my first son 7 days after I graduated with my master's degree. So I like to tease my mom and dad, like, yeah, I got my priorities straight. I graduated. Not with just my bachelor's, my master's, but I graduated. Yeah. So, after I graduated, I had my son, I got married, kind of just had fun, lived life for a while. 2019, 2020, that was, our kind of a tender time with COVID. And so I took some time. I guess I really enjoyed being a mom for 2 full years and just, living the life, some good and bad in that, having to stay home, but having to stay home, it wasn't too bad. And then that's kind of, whenever, my time here at the Choctaw Cultural Center started happening, and we started slowly helping, developing tons of reading, writing, learning, but that's kind of how all that played out. Mm-hmm. And then, as I mentioned, working here at the Choctaw Cultural Center, seeing what the Cultural Center could do, getting to talk to people, my dreams, my thoughts just kind of started running, and I was like, what, I think I want to explore this a little bit more. So I decided to kind of step back from my professional work as an education coordinator and just kind of focus on being a full-time student and, a mom, because that family life is really important to me.
Yeah. I'm still very busy and still, it's really cool. It's, and also kind of fortunate to be in that position, right? And fortunate to have, the things that you have, but also it comes from hard work because, if you hadn't had that scholarship, who knows what could have happened as well. So, it might just have gone to OU and like, okay, maybe do a master's. We'll see. But I love how life takes its turns and opportunities are presented and you meet people and you develop interests and also, just kind of follow your heart and like, what, I'm into this. I'm going to try this. Let me do this for a little bit. Rather than I need to do this. I need to get a job. I need to provide the rest of it. There's so many things to be fortunate about. We can dive into all of that as well. So the other thing you mentioned too is, you're dancing around the country. Where does the love of dance come from? Does that start from a young age?
Well, as you mentioned, this is definitely a unique way of life. Mm-hmm. It's very different. I have been very blessed it has awarded me many unique opportunities. Dancing powwow, my dad started fairly young.
Okay.
I think he was getting into double digits in his age. And then as he met my mom started in, her mid-20s. And then, as I mentioned, when I was able to walk, I started dancing. So I've been dancing, roughly 29, 30 years now. And, during the summertime, even like when I was in high school, I was basketball during the spring and fall. Summertime, I was straight powwow, start again, spring and fall. So I had kind of a powwow season and I had school season. But yeah, I've traveled all around the United States, Canada. I've also had many opportunities to travel to different countries, not just at powwows, but I've gotten invitations to dance at NBA games, WNBA, NCAA, lacrosse. When running mate Al Gore was running for vice president, I actually got to dance for him. I've danced for a few presidential elections. I've gotten to guest lecture at universities. There's just, all kinds of things. Music festivals, country stars. I've gotten to open for some country singers like John Anderson, Big and Rich, Montgomery Gentry, so Cheyenne Frontier Rodeo, all kinds of cool, unique places. Not too long ago, a little different, but I got to, I'm going to say almost, meet B.D. Wong from, Law and Order. I'm going to say almost. I was almost there. I had to go change, so I missed him, but I got to hear him on the guest lecture. Yeah. But yeah, it's given me different opportunities. I've gotten to meet a lot of people, and it's always a talking point. What are you wearing? Who are you? Where are you from? And so that's just an awesome segue to tell people, this is who I am, this is where I come from, and this is a little bit about me. Yeah. I think throughout, anything I do, with it being school, in education, writing my dissertation, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of university professors that, don't know Native Americans still exist, that don't know Choctaws exist. And so, a lot of times it's a lot of enlightenment, it's a lot of awakening, and it's a lot of the, we're still here, we're still making movement moments. Yeah. So, like I said, there's always a talking point. And I love making connections as well. Yeah,
definitely. Dive into the dance part of the thing for me, because a lot of people, and me being one of them, not growing up in this country, and just, I've seen pictures. I haven't seen one live. I've seen pictures of it, and probably like most people, right? You scroll the Instagram, something's going to pop up. Dive into just kind of a lot around just dancing, the meaning. You say you dance for people at events, right? There's a lot of meaning behind that. A lot of people probably at the time don't understand the real meaning behind it, whereas you do, because it's your heritage, your history. That's a lot where you grew up, and that's why you do a lot of things you do. But for some people, they might just think, I know this is a significant moment, but I don't know what's behind it, right? This is definitely something, but I'm not really sure. Yeah, so we got time. If you want to dive into that, just kind of educate me, and maybe educate me mostly, because I'm sure there's someone listening as well that's probably thinking the same thing. But I think just the meaning behind it, and I'm sure there's different meanings for different dances, and there's we can open the book on that. We can talk about powwow all day. Yeah. Well, powwow, what I've been talking about, is what we like to consider just a celebration, a big gathering of celebration of song and dance. It's not a ceremony. It's not necessarily traditional, as there are some places that still do traditional ceremonial powwows. The powwows that we attend, that we go to compete at, are actually competition powwows. And so a competition powwow is, it could be an event from anywhere to having 50 dancers to, there's been places where I've gone where there's been up to 1,500 dancers. And that's just dancers. That's not including, spectators, the food vendors, the arts and crafts.
But typically, they're free events. Anybody is welcome to attend. We ask that there's people come with a good mind, coming willing to learn, no drugs, alcohol, a family-friendly event. But typically they're 3 days. Sometimes in Oklahoma you can catch them that are a day, but you can find them out throughout the United States, Canada. You can honestly Google powwows in Oklahoma in July, and you can find some stuff like that. But a celebration of song and dance. Typically there's 5 men's categories, which is traditional, straight, grass, fancy, and chicken. All 5 of them come with their own origin story, their own unique style of dress, sometimes their own unique style of colors, their own style of song. And for the males, I guess depending on how they adorn, it kind of depends on, as I mentioned, who they are. Different colors, different symbols represent different things. Same thing for the women. There's the northern and southern cloth and buckskin. There's the women's jingle, and then that I dance, the women's fancy shawl. I mentioned that we have a powwow, the Choctaw Nation has a powwow in Durant, Oklahoma. It is November 3rd, 4th, and 5th. It has become a premier powwow within the state of Oklahoma, if not nationwide. We are coming on to our 17th annual powwow free event. But something very unique about our powwow is that we actually have the women's Choctaw traditional dance category. And that's not something that you'll find just anywhere. It is very unique to Choctaw country because we are on the Choctaw Nation reservation. And this is very unique to us because unlike these other powwows where they are more, how could you say, trade style of dances, because powwow isn't necessarily Choctaw. Powwow traveled and came to many different nations. It belongs to everybody now, but through trade and through, relations. A long time ago when we traveled to different communities, we adopted friends, we adopted families. And whenever, even to this day, when we call somebody brother, when we call somebody sister, they're not just brother or sister for the day, for the weekend. We invite their whole family in. And typically when we do things like that, it's like, hey, welcome into my community. This is who we are. This is some of our items. Sometimes you dress people in the way that, your tribal heritage is supposed to dress.
Okay.
And so that's how you welcome people in. But like I said, with this category at the Choctaw Powwow, it's very unique to us. So when you come and you see this Choctaw style of dress, you see these dancers, you will be able to know for sure that they are Choctaw women because of their adornment.
Okay.
Some of these other styles that I'm talking to you about, they are competition. So by competition, meaning you travel to these different powwows. In this day and age, we do have different age categories along with the different dance styles. Not only, and I'm kind of jumping around here, but dancing as well. It's very, important for our bodies, for our lifestyle, our mental well-being. It keeps us in really good shape. Typically, songs are 2 to somewhere 4 minutes long. And, it's pretty high intensity, so you're moving a lot. Yeah. Keeps you in shape. A lot of times, people start their kids when they can walk, and they continue, till they can't. What I was taught is, you always, even though it is a competition, there are moments where it is competition dancing, where you are judged, where you have to be focused. You start on time, you stop on time. You want everybody to look at you. So you adorn yourself in bright colors, flashy fabric. There's competition moments. But there's other moments as well during the powwow weekends where you just dance. It's social dancing. It's feel-good dancing. And so that's kind of where it comes into play, where I was taught you dance for those who can't. You dance for, I talked a little bit about my son who has a little bit of physical challenges. He might not ever be able to physically dance on his own one day. But, he can always be there watching. He can always be there singing. for our grandmas and grandpas, and maybe, our relatives that are handicapped who want to be there. We're very blessed in our bodies. Sometimes we take things for even little things, you jam your finger, you can't use it for a whole day. That really messes things up. So you do your best to take care of your body, and I guess do what you can and feel the beat, the music, and move it the way you want to move it. And so, like I said, with this powwow style of dancing, I was always told you dance for others. Also for yourself too, because there is that mental well-being. Time and time again, I'm talking about school. I've been in school, roughly 15 years after graduating high school. So it's been a while. Dancing is definitely an escape for me. Like I said, it's only 3 or 4 minutes of a song, but that's all you in that song. It's just you and the drum. The music's so loud, you really don't hear anything else. Sometimes if you got a good sound system, you can feel that beat from the ground. It's just, like I said, you can get lost within yourself for a couple minutes. And for me, that's really been a mental release for me. That's definitely helped me get through school. And, that's definitely just kind of my stress-free, care releaser. But
it's you're speaking to my soul right now, because I do that in golf. Sometimes golf can be a stressor as well. But when you're out there, it's freeing, right? You're just peaceful. And I know it's loud and there's people cheering it, but at the same time, in your own head, you're just like,
it's a different kind of peace. You're not
thinking about school, you're not thinking about dissertations, you're not thinking about your little ones. You're just out there, just 3 or 4 minutes of just you time.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's a giant release. It's great. But also, like you said, the mentality when you go in is that you're dancing for others. That also frees you up so much, right? Because you're not going in there thinking, I'm going in here for me because I'm going to win this. It's not, there's so many different ways to look around about competition. But, what you just said about dancing for others kind of struck me as like such a mind shift. When you're going in there, like, it doesn't matter how I perform today, but I am going to perform for those who are they're a little older. They can't get out here and dance anymore. They might be sat on the side. They might have a walker or whatever it is. So, and just like, I'm going to express myself and show you what I can do, and then just be out here and enjoy it. And then they enjoy the dancing through you, right? They kind of live through you. But that's really special to have those moments, and then to be invited, to be at a level where you get invited around the country too, to tick the travel box like you did when you were kind of coming out of high school.
There's a lot to be thankful for whether you're the one dancing, even just watching. There's been times where I have myself been a little too tired to, or maybe mentally I was not in my right mind space to want to dance, and I have gone to a powwow just to sit back, watch my husband, watch my kids, but even that has helped me. So I can definitely see some of the pleasure in watching, singing, and dancing as well. But there's definitely something for everybody at powwows. If you're not a dancer, maybe you're a spectator. Maybe you're the one singing. There's also arts and crafts vendors as well. We do have a Choctaw only section at our powwow. We do have other tribal members only, so you'll get a good variety of different arts and crafts. We also have food vendors that come to the powwows as well, and they're not your typical truck vendors as well. They're, indigenous cuisines. You'll get green chili, fry bread, hot dogs with a spin in fry bread. There's, different kind of flavors with that as well. But yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of what
Sounds
we got going
awesome.
on.
and you get to bring your little ones with you, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, you started, as soon as you could walk, and, you got 2 sons out there too. And, even if they're just around it, crawling around, like it's such a, they're going to look back and just remember that too, right? Or not remember it vividly, but just be like, as long as I can remember, I've been at powwows.
Yeah, that's
right. That's huge.
Honestly, the truth. When I was pregnant, my son was there. He heard those vibrations. He heard the music. As a baby, we kind of like to joke around because how when you have a new baby, you have to keep it quiet. You can't make any sounds. You know, you got to tiptoe around.
Yeah.
No, not our kids. You know, our kids will fall asleep during the loudest part of the powwow.
Yeah.
But yeah, the powwow is completely a whole different lifestyle on its own. It's just like rodeo. It's kind of like track meets. There's definitely a crowd that follows that go to different powwows. And it is a family event. You know, my husband, like I said, and my kids, my grandpa, he's actually, I believe he turned 85 this year. And he's in North Dakota right now with my grandma traveling. And they're still dancing to this day.
Brilliant.
And, you know, everywhere we go, we know, thankfully, we'll always have family around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or somebody we will know.
Yeah, definitely. So tell me about being, kind of, I asked you earlier, what is your title? What do you tell people? And you said a cultural educator. Tell me a little bit about that and just the goal of that going forward and how you can use, you're working towards your doctorate and just like, what's the plan going forward with that? How do we take that title and teach others and use that in a way that not only makes you happy that you get to work in it every day, but also teaches others about what it is that you guys do, what it is you mean, why you dance, and all the other stuff that is super important to not only you but your history as well.
Yeah. Well, powwow dancing. I guess my name in itself. I always do my best to introduce myself wherever I go. Mm-hmm. Just talking to somebody, small chat. At a restaurant, oh, hi, by the way, I'm Tiata Begay. Nice to meet you. And that's, simple as that. And that's kind of always a ear catcher right there, Tiata Begay. Begay. Oh, that's Navajo. Are you Navajo? And then I kind of joke around. I'm like, nope, not me. That's my husband. I'm Choctaw. But even that, those are great segue, good conversation starters. So I kind of will go into talking a little bit about my husband, where I met him. Begay, as I understand it, is the English kind of translation, but it's Biya, which is your son, his or her son. And then Tiata is actually Chickasaw, which actually, from where my parents and my grandparents translated it, was more as sunrise.
Okay. So
sunrise. And then typically, it's just Tiata Begay, Choctaw, I'm Choctaw, Chickasaw, Taos Pueblo, and that's just kind of goes from there. I'm a student, cultural educator. And I say cultural educator lightly, but it's actually pretty serious because, like I said, you can go into so many different things with that. And I've been immersed in so much that my conversation could really take me to traditional Choctaw history, culture, that storytelling aspect. If you want to get started with me on current education policy towards Indian education, we can talk about that too.
You know a lot more about it than I do, and it's also, I think education is just a giant topic in Oklahoma always, sadly. Hopefully it improves. Even if it's a little bit, it will get better. But yeah, and also, it's a huge topic. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Yeah.
Well, respectfully, let's not get into that just because that's a little bit too much. We can go on and on and on about, Indigenous, Native American education in the state of Oklahoma and current events. It's a headache. There's a lot of ins and outs, twists and turns. So that's why, let's not get into that. But, there's always something going on. I won't be bored, that's for sure. 100%. But kind of on the flip side, while I'm just busy being a full-time student and a mom, I guess my part-time side job right now is doing some commission work for some public schools in Oklahoma City right now, but specifically dance schools and dance academies, dance departments. And so this is really fun and unique because when do you get to talk about Native American dance? So this past fall, I was actually invited in to help redevelop Oklahoma's Native American dance curriculum. Mm-hmm. And, that's it's a little too strange because it's like, wow, that's like exactly what I like. That's right up my alley, you know? And so it's just a lot of kind of tweaking it, making it a little bit more formal, making sure, you know, I have my history down, making sure I know my stuff, and just, I guess, talking to the right people. Never would I have thought that I'd be talking to Oklahoma dance teachers. But, you know, that's kind of one of the ends I was really looking for, somebody that would really appreciate the history, the culture, and want to express it and reteach it in a way that it's supposed to and have it be meaningful. So, like I said, a very unexpected and unique in, but that's kind of what I've been dabbling around with for a while.
Yeah. How was that experience? How was it to, you know, build a curriculum and I'll rebuild the curriculum of that for Oklahoma City? It's
cool. Definitely, like anything else, Native American history, lots of updating, lots of kind of straightening some lines, some, you know, fine tuning of this is who it is, this is who it belongs to. One of the most, you know, I've done a lot of dance shows. I have done a lot of dance teaching. Never before to dance students, though. So that one kind of I skipped a couple steps for them, you know. But that was a lot of fun. We kind of, just in the writing of it, like I said, a lot of just updating. But in the physical aspect of it was so much fun. I took a couple extra shawls, a couple different dance items, and, you know, displayed them. This is what they are. This is kind of the feel for it, because something I didn't talk about in powwow is our outfits and how much they actually weigh. So beadwork, they're most typically glass beads. You know, they're beautiful, but they're also very heavy. So at minimum, our outfits are maybe like 20 pounds at minimum, because you're thinking your moccasins are fully beaded. You have leg wear fully beaded. You have on your skirt or your pants, typically a belt, a shirt. Then you have either your harness or your cape, neck adornment, ear adornment, head adornment, feathers, and then that's not including if you need shawls, fans, bustles, all of that. So I know at one time my dad had to weigh his outfit to go to the airport, and his was 70 pounds in his suitcase. And you know, when you think about that, dancing 4 minutes, that's just one song. Sometimes you dance 4 or 5 songs. But, you know, this goes back to the health of it. You have to take care of your body, you know, make sure you rest, take care of your outfits. You know, I've been going weekend by weekend by weekend. It's always upkeep. Just last week, I had to resole the bottom of my moccasins because I was getting holes from dancing so much. But, yeah.
Back to what you said earlier about keeping you in shape.
Yeah.
You're basically, I mean, it's what, you know, so there's people out there buying weight vests, right?
Yeah.
Like to go walking and running in and dance around in, you know, around their living room to a, you know, P90X workout on TV or whatever it is. You know, that's, I never would have guessed that they were that heavy.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty heavy. And something that you see around here pretty prominently is the women's buckskin dancers. That's something that you'll see a lot in Oklahoma. And same thing, theirs are at least 50 pounds, because they have at least 2 to 3 full deer buckskins on them. And that's the buckskin. And like I said, you need all the adornment, the shells, the beads, sometimes coins, the teeth. But yeah, I mean, it all adds up. And that's, you know, something too that I can mention is that with powwow, all the items, the things that you see, the things that we wear, that's not something you can find at Walmart or Target or that you can buy on Amazon.
There's a skill.
Yeah, like, you know, if you're lucky, you have friends, you have family that can make it. Friends and family don't do stuff for free, though. Even if they are friends and family. There's a, you know, hefty price tag that comes along with the skill, the art of learning how to make these different things, the time. My family, since we've grown up in it, my parents have taught me how to make a lot of my stuff. You know, having a husband going on 3 years now, I I had to learn how to make a lot of that stuff too. Best believe some of those first shirts came out kind of a little bit, one arm was a little bit longer than the other. But, even him too, he appreciated it. He knows that this is something that you don't get all the time. I've perfected my seams, my lines, all of that stuff now. But you really do. It takes a lot of time, even just learning how to make different things. A question that we get a lot is, how long did it take to make this? And, I always have to start smiling because I'm like, well, when do you need it done?
Right, yeah.
Because sometimes, I can do, me and my husband, if I need moccasins, I can do 2, 1 left foot, 1 right foot in 4 days, fully beaded, if I need it done. Yes. If not, they can take me 3 months. Like I said, just depends on when you need it. It can take a couple days, a week to do beadwork, or it can take years sometimes. It just kind of depends on the time you have and how bad you want it.
Yeah. It's such a good skill, though, right?
Yeah.
Passed down through generation to generation, keep that going.
Yeah.
That's super valuable. Because otherwise, like you said, it gets super expensive. And also, if you miss a generation, like that, it just, you could get lost. And then you're like, well, that's kind of our own fault for not learning it. Like, it's something that's super important for you to learn.
Yeah, it is. It's very hard to bring something back. Mm-hmm. And something, I guess this kind of does segue back to, the Choctaw Cultural Center, the Choctaw pow-wow, even the Choctaw style of dance. I did mention that pow-wow, what I have been talking about throughout most of this talk, is that pow-wow, it's open. It's for any tribal nation. It's not necessarily just for Choctaws or only for Choctaws or started just by Choctaws. It's for anybody. But even a style that I know that myself and a couple friends are trying to, I'll use Dr. Ian Thompson's word, awaken, because we haven't necessarily lost any of these ways. They've just been sleeping, as he describes it. We're just wanting to reawaken some of the more traditional style of the southeastern woodland, which is the Choctaw. Currently we do have a post-colonial style of dress, style of attire, after our contact with our missions, where we did start assimilating and combining fabric with just European style of dress with traditional Choctaw. That's kind of the style we have now. But like I said, a couple friends and I are actually looking at reawakening and bringing back the more post-contact style, to where hopefully we can bring that back into the arena. And eventually how we have the women's Choctaw traditional dance style, who's to say that in a couple years we won't have a men's Choctaw style. So there's still research, still work to be done, and I don't know, you never really know what else we can come up with. I guess there's always ways to innovate and always ways to mix, match, and blend. Mm-hmm. We live in two worlds. And, the best part about it is you can learn a little bit about both and learn how to mesh it really well.
Yeah, definitely. Just some fun questions to finish up. Which of the university mascots do you prefer the most of all the places you've ever been to school at?
I'm going to have to go back to the Ada Cougars.
Yeah?
I'm going to have to go back to high school.
All right. Back to the home roots. I love that. And because you introduced you reminded me, you told me your son's names earlier, but tell me your son's names again and what they mean, because that I love with that. I mean, it's for you it's a cultural thing, right? For me, it's not, right? My name's Mike. I have no idea what Mike means, and my mum named me Mike because my dad's middle name's Michael, right? And like that's the only thing that I have, right? That's like my dad's middle name just keeps going. But when names have meanings and there's a lot of thought into it, I think it's really cool. So you can talk about your kids for as much as you want to talk about your kids. So.
Okay. Well, I have two sons, two awesome sons, totally a boy mom. My oldest is 4. His name is Tanapohoyo Begay. Tanapohoyo in the Choctaw language actually means looking for guns. And I guess, our family, usually we go to our elders, or sometimes we'll have a ceremony when we're doing our namings. Tanapohoyo was actually given to me by my grandpa, and as he explained it to me, he said, actually, this is a woman's name, but it could actually go either way. It could be for a little boy or a little girl. And I was like, okay, cool. I won't. Even though I have a little boy, I'm not going to say it's a woman's name. That's kind of where my mind went. So I actually had him 2019. I started working here at Cultural Center the end of 2019, early 2020. Like I said, I was the first one in the Cultural Center. The only thing that was kind of up when I was here was they had a couple exhibit displays out. They were still putting the writing up but since being the first one within the education department, it was on me to go through, read everything, know my history, and start developing some stuff, right? So come to find out, honestly, the first 2 weeks or so, I was reading, and there's a panel in the Cultural Center, and it talks about the 1500s, whenever Hernando de Soto first came into the contact with the southeastern natives, the Choctaws, in areas of Louisiana and Florida. Talks about that. Talks about, these Spaniards coming over, their first contact. The Choctaws, scared them away. So the Spaniards left. They knew the Choctaws were not to be messed with. A couple years later, the Spaniards come back during the second encounter. But this time they came with, this exhibit talks about their clad armor. They came with their weapons, their guns. They knew what to expect. And so this story goes that when the Spaniards came the second time, that they completely wiped out all the Choctaws. Men, the grandpas, the boys were all gone. And it said, it completely wiped us out. It said that the Choctaw people were so reverent, they were a people to not be defeated, that the women during that time actually started picking up their guns and going to fight and, holding down the fort, more or less, to say. And so whenever I read that exhibit, I got cold chills. I was like, holy cow, like I just knew right then and there. I just knew, dang, I think this is where our name came from, Tanapohoyo, looking for guns. And then, it kind of all made sense there. And I was like, holy, I was all by myself in this exhibit. I was just like, wow, just freaking out. I was like, wow, that's all I could say. Even just thinking about it now, what kind of crazy coincidence is that? So that's a fun story I like to tell. That's kind of one of those, like I said, aha moments. When I went back and I told my family, and they're like, same thing. They're like, wow, well, it all makes sense now. And I'm like, yeah, you never know. That could be, a name passed down from the 1500s. And then my other son, he's 1 year old now. His name is Okinshoma Begay. And that is translated in the Choctaw language as red medicine. And so with him, things are a little different. I actually had a little bit of trouble with him while he was in womb. Things got a little scary. We almost thought we were going to lose him for a while. In our way, we don't really figure out if we're going to have a little boy or a little girl. We wait until, they're born. And, like I said, things kind of got scary there for a while. And when I went to my grandparents for a name, they were kind of like, I don't have anything. It kind of got a little scary there. Why don't you have a name? Yeah. And, I was talking to my dad, just kind of to anybody, I kind of wasn't, that was something I really didn't share with my family, how bad the situation was. Yeah. I'm one of those people that I always try to keep a good, positive mind. But with him, there wasn't really a name coming. And then I want to say the night before he was born, and I will kind of side note that we're also culturally, ceremonially active, my family and I. So we've got, a different side of us that we don't really talk about. It's a little bit more in our private lives. But the night before baby was born, I actually had a dream, and my dad actually had a dream. And I want to say my grandpa came up with a name. And so that next day, baby was born. He came, and we were talking. We were like, well, what are you going to name it, And my dad's like, well, T's like, I had a dream, and I kind of wanted to talk about this. And he didn't know that I had already talked to my grandpa alone, and I had already talked to, I was just talking to him alone, and I didn't tell him about my dream either. And so the name that my grandpa kind of gave me was Good Medicine. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't think anything of it. And then my dad was talking, and this dream that he had, he was presented some red medicine. In our way, in our ceremonial way, that's something to be very respected, very powerful. And he came along with something, it was red something. It wasn't medicine, but it was red something. And then when he was talking, I remember my grandpa's conversation. I remember my dad's conversation. And then something with me just clicked. I just knew what it was. And then, of course, I messaged a couple people just to make sure I had my translation right. And then I was like, whenever they asked, they're like, so what's his name? That was one of those things I just knew right then and there. Okishoma, red medicine. And, I would like to believe that was, a powerful name made just for him. That was supposed to be his name. Something really unique about red medicine is that within many tribal nations, different cultures, there's always some form of special, powerful medicine, or something like sage, something like sweetgrass, but sage. There's some kind of red form of medicine. So I'm like, what? That's my baby boy right there. And like I said, he's a little different. He's got a couple challenges of his own. So that the strength that name brings him, it's perfect. But I'm really proud, and I'm really prideful that I've got my sons those names, and they've got their Choctaw first names and their Navajo last name. So it's it's a pretty good representation of both. Earlier you asked me if I was ever going to have any more kids. Yeah, eventually. And people, my Navajo relatives like to say, oh yeah, Navajo first name. And I'm like, nope, they already got Navajo last name. Compromise.
Yeah, that in-law conversation is fun, right? Especially the dynamics of the two different tribes. But no, that's fantastic. And just the story, the meaning, just sitting here listening to you talk about it, it means so much.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
it. It kind of just, not only just to you, but also just like you said, the ceremony and naming from grandparents and just having your dad there and just all of that special, right? Something you remember forever. And then you look at this perfect example of what you're all talking about, right? You have this beautiful baby boys to talk about. So yeah, it's fantastic. What do we have in the near future? I know you mentioned that November you're going to be here dancing for the Choctaw powwow. What do we have this summer coming up that's towards the end of the summer that we have coming up and into the fall? Anything that other than this powwow, that you're excited to? I mean, you got to finish your dissertation at some point, which is probably a bit of not as fun as some of the other things you got to do. But what are we working towards to close out, I guess, 23?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of on my break right now. I've been going hard on the powwow circuit, traveling around, doing work since the end of April, every weekend. So, you caught me at a really good time. This is honestly my only week and a half off.
Yeah.
But I go back to school in September. I got to get my mind focused to, do some more formal writing. We've got Choctaw powwow coming up in November. Other than that, I'm kind of just enjoying my life.
Yeah.
I'm definitely one of those go with the flow people. Make the most of every moment. Take opportunity when it presents itself. And, just like this, it's having these conversations, something that, I know, but that I don't get to freely outspeak a lot. It's fun. It's, something to appreciate even more.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking some time out of your week off, a week and a half off. Shout out to your aunt for being here to take care of the little one while we record, being the babysitter, and wish you all the best for the rest of the year. Good luck going back to school. Being a full-time mom and going back to school is never easy. I'm sure it's not something that I would like to be doing. And not just like going undergrad, like it's not, undergrad's a lot easier when you know, without kids, but you're also doing a dissertation to be a doctor, doctorate, and all the other stuff.
It's going to pay off, and they're going to remember it, exactly. And I'm going to be Dr. Mom. Exactly. Dr. Fancy Shaw Mom.
There it is. It's
but
right here.
Thanks again, Mike. Chapisa Lachaki and Yakoki. We'll see you again.
Chapisa Lachaki. Did I say that right?
See you again. Good. Never goodbye.
Never goodbye, because Chief Batten told me that, and I was trying to remember it. So thank you so much for saying that. And for people listening, we'll catch you next episode. Cheers. Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is presented by the Choctaw Nation. The Choctaw people have a rich history and a bright future. At the Choctaw Cultural Center, you can take part in a story 14,000 years in the making. Stroll through our immersive exhibits portraying Choctaw life from the moment our ancestors emerged from the Nani Weha in Mississippian homelands to the Trail of Tears, where we lost so many loved ones, and finally to the modern-day tribe making a positive impact on local communities throughout southeastern Oklahoma. Try your hand at our social dancing and stickball and learn more about our vibrant culture through demonstrations, workshops, and classes. The kids will have a blast in our Luxie Activity Center. The Choctaw Cultural Center is more than a museum. It's a living, breathing experience. Visit choctawculturalcenter.com to plan your visit. This episode is brought to you by Hope is Alive. Hope is Alive exists to radically change the lives of drug addicts, alcoholics, and those who love them. Join us on August 11th at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum for a celebration of hope featuring guest speaker Tim Tebow and musical artist Ben Fuller. Find out more and get your tickets at HIA10.com.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.